There are a number of reasons why women may not share men's enthusiasm for sexual activity. It has been consistently shown in psychological studies that women are generally less sexually attracted than males. When compared to males, they show less interest in sexual activity overall, have a lower sexual drive, and seek fewer lifelong sex partners. One of the big controversies in psychology centers on the question of why men and women exhibit such different sexual orientations, the battle of nature and nurture. Some psychologists have theorized that biological variations between sexes account for this variance in sexual desire. If you take an evolutionary perspective, producing as many children as possible and mating with as many women as feasible can increase a man's reproductive fitness. So, guys need to be sexually aroused and willing to engage in casual sexual encounters. Men, on the other hand, may have an unlimited amount of children, whereas women have a natural cap. They also have to pay for everything associated with having and raising a kid. That's why it's important for women to be selective about the men they mate with, postponing sexual activity until they're sure he'll be around to assist raise the kids. A counterargument from some psychologists is that cultural variables account for the observed difference in sexual desire. Specifically, we send mixed signals about sexuality to teenagers. On the one hand, we allow young men to sow their wild oats and are typically lenient when it comes to their sexual behavior. Because, let's face it, boys will be boys. Girls, on the other hand, are taught that it is inappropriate to express sexual desire and that they should suppress such feelings altogether. Teenage girls who are very sexually hungry are called sluts. However, young guys who engage in sexual activity are never treated this way and are instead praised for being studs. Compared to males, women have far worse sex experiences. Like other human differences, racial disparities are the result of a combination of genetics and environmental influences. Professors of psychology at the University of Michigan, Terry Conley and Verena Klein, suggest that the traditional explanation for the difference between sexes in sexual desire is incomplete. It's a well-known fact that when men and women engage in sexual activity, the women seldom report feeling as satisfied as the males do. These scientists claim that women's dissatisfaction with sex is understandable given that they get worse services compared to males. Perspectives on Psychological Science released an essay by Conley and Klein, in which they discuss 4 reasons why sex isn't as beneficial for women as it is for males. The first has to do with the physical distinctions between sexes. Since boys are instructed to hold their penises while relieving themselves, they rapidly discover the sensual benefits of self-touch. In contrast, girls seldom discover the pleasure of touching their clitorises on their own since they have no practical need to do so. Many sexually active women struggle to achieve orgasms as adults because they are either unaware that their clitoris needs to be stroked, or are too embarrassed to do so. Penile-vaginal intercourse is also more likely to cause discomfort to women than males because of its penetrative nature. Pregnancy, which is a problem for women, is a burden at best and a miserable experience at worst. 2. Statistically speaking, more women than males are sexual violence victims. Men are less likely to be victims than women because they are larger, stronger, and more aggressive than women. It's understandable to be apprehensive about having sex again after sexual assault, even with a new partner who looks trustworthy. Fear for one's own safety is a typical argument women describe for turning down offers of casual sexual encounters. Men might be attracted to threats, whereas women must first feel comfortable before experiencing sex. Conley and Klein believe that male victims of sexual abuse should be equally wary about starting new relationships as their female counterparts. Contradictions in values and cultural norms. The widespread existence of sexual double standards in modern culture is a third factor. Women now have greater sexual freedom than they had 60 years ago, yet they continue to hear signals about what constitutes good girl behavior. While this may be true of one-time sexual experiences, many women, especially those in committed relationships, feel guilty or ashamed if they allow themselves to have too much fun. The fourth justification has to do with the cultural norms that prescribe heterosexuality. The male is the one to start things off in this scenario, and if his partner is game, things will progress to foreplay, which is mostly geared at strengthening his erection. This done, he thrusts his penis into her vagina till he has an orgasmic experience. Even though the clitoris is seldom stroked during penetrative sex, The woman is nonetheless expected to climax at this period. Too many couples see sex as something that she does for him, even if there are sexually literate couples that understand how to make sex joyful for both sides. So, he had an orgasm and she has the pleasure of knowing she satisfied him. Conley and Klein argue that there is an insufficient amount of cunnilingus taking place. Some women may be comfortable engaging in oral sex with their partners, but they may recoil in disgust or embarrassment when they are on the receiving end. And yet, it's quite rare that a woman would have an orgasmic climax if her clitoris isn't sufficiently stimulated. On top of that, hardly any verbal exchanges occur between partners during making love. They see sexual activity as doing what comes naturally and believe that conversation during this animal act is superfluous and even unseemly. To make matters worse, there is a widespread lack of understanding among both sexes of the nuances of female genitalia and how an orgasmic experience unfolds. It's hardly unexpected that women would desire sex less than males if their experiences were consistently worse. However, this is not inevitable. Sexual education that is both all-encompassing and age-appropriate may assist young people learn how to have satisfying sexual experiences with both partners. People are inherently sexual beings, and if they can get beyond the widespread misconceptions and stereotyping, they may find the type of satisfying sexual relationships that really make their lives meaningful.